Welcome to Baby Loss Talk. I am your host, Janelle Adams, a fellow baby loss mom who created this show to help remove the stigma, shame, and loneliness of losing a pregnancy or infant by sharing real stories, advice, and resources. Thank Allie so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. So before we jump into your baby loss story specifically, can you tell us more about you as Allie, the woman? What do you like to do? What
Sure.
you do?
So basically, I'll give you me in a nutshell. So, I actually am from Michigan. I'm from a small town called Ypsilanti. It starts with a Y.
Oh, I legit was like, how do you spell that?
Ypsilanti.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that right at all.
So I'm from Ypsilanti. I went to school at Florida A&M in Tallahassee. And I got an industrial engineering degree. So I graduated from there in 2009. Ended up moving to Illinois. I worked for Caterpillar for a little bit. And then I moved to Georgia when I got married. So my husband and I dated long distance until we got married. So we never lived in the same state until we got married. Yes. So I've been in Georgia for 4 years now, going on 5 years. And I've been here ever since. And I actually just received my apparel and technology degree, textile technology degree in May. So went back to something totally different.
Yeah, I do remember because we met at a blogging conference years ago.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned to me that you were thinking of doing this. And
Yeah.
you really did it. So that's awesome.
I did do it. So I went back to school. I felt like the old lady in class. Everybody's like 20. I'm like 30 in class.
Hey, listen, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just encouraged too. So
Yes.
You know.
So that's kind of me. I love the blog. Love fashion. I love to spend time with my family. I sing at church. Actually, I volunteer at my church where my husband and I are tutors. So that's where I was tonight. So that's why I kind of started a little later. But yeah, we tutor at our church. So I love community involvement and just kind of being with my friends and family and, doing things like that. So
amazing. So well, let me just ask you, by the way, because I'm so curious, because my husband and I, our first year of dating was long distance, and it was so hard. So how did you guys, how many years was that you guys were
So we started dating at the end of early 2008. We got married in 2012. So my husband, we went to two different universities. We met at an internship in New York, and then my husband went to Southern and Louisiana. I went to Florida A&M in Florida, and then once he graduated, he moved to Georgia. I went home to Michigan once I graduated, got a job in Illinois. So we were like, our love story is all across the map. He's from Seattle, I'm from Michigan, so like we have no common ground of, like where we're from, but I would just say I wouldn't recommend long distance if you don't have to, but if you do it, you have to make sure you definitely trust the person that you're with, and you have to go out of your way to make, things happen, because we would try to see each other at least like every 2 months or so. And thank God for like FaceTime and Skype and all those mediums where you can actually see each other, that made it a little bit easier.
Right. Well, here you guys are. So you guys are married now, and you're in Georgia.
Yes.
And just to jump into your story, you guys then get pregnant. Was this your first pregnancy, if you mind me asking?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And can you just share, what that process was like for you, as much as you feel comfortable sharing?
So I was on birth control like from the minute that we got married. Because I was like, I don't want to be on my honeymoon like, oh, I'm pregnant, because we never had that time to actually be together. So like that first year was really about like really learning who we are, because we never lived in the same state.
And laying the foundation.
Yeah, so we wanted to kind of wait to have kids. And of course, you know, we got bombarded with the when are you going to have kids question as soon as we walked down the aisle.
Oh, yeah, at cocktail hour, like before
right.
the reception.
Like, okay, so when are the kids coming? But we kind of decided, we didn't really have a date, but, you know, we knew we didn't want to do it so early in the relationship just because we just wanted to get time to really bond and, you know, get to know each other as one. So we kind of waited. We didn't get pregnant until I think I found out, let's see, when was it? I think it was August of 2015. Yeah, 2015. So we found out like late August that we were expecting. So that was our first time, and we were really excited. Like I got pregnant like a month after I got off birth control.
Oh yeah, good thing you got
that. Like it'll probably take like a few months, probably up to a year. We were thinking, oh, we have some time, you know, we'll be okay.
And God was like, yeah, no, so
no,
girl, go ahead and do this right now.
So yeah, it was like pretty immediate. So my husband, when I took the test, I took it at home, and the line was really, really faint. So my husband was like, "You're not pregnant." I was like, "I see a line, but okay." So I took another one. He didn't believe. He was like, "Just make a doctor's appointment." And so I went to the doctor, and the nurse had me, you know, pee in the cup or whatever. And she's like, "Do you want to be pregnant?" I was like, I mean, I would be excited. She was like, "Well, congratulations, because you are." So, you know, we kind of went from there. So my husband was really excited. I was excited. And kind of just took off from there.
Okay. Your baby loss story is ended in stillbirth. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So if you don't mind sharing, I know it's tough.
Before it happened, you know, I was super stoked. Like, this is my first baby. I'm like, yes. You know, I wanted to like shout from the rooftops, like, I'm pregnant. And it was funny because my husband, he's really, really private. So he's not really, I mean, he's on Facebook and things like that, but he doesn't really do social media too often.
Yeah. And you're a blogger, so you're all.
Yeah, so I'm always like, share.
Yeah.
Like, no. But so he didn't want me to tell like anybody. Like he didn't want us to tell our parents, anybody, until after the first trimester, because we were like reading up and like, you know, they say the first trimester is very important. So we kind of waited that first 13 weeks. We didn't really tell anybody.
Oh my God, how did you do it?
I don't know. I felt like I was walking on like eggshells.
I know. I can only imagine.
I talk to my mom all the time, so I'm like, how am I not gonna tell her? So I'm trying to dodge and, you know. So that was interesting. And then finally, after like that first trimester, he was like, okay, I guess you can tell now. So I made it Facebook official. You know, it's not official till it's, you know, on social media. Right. So we kind of took some pictures. My husband is my photographer for my blog. So we took some pictures of like the shoes with the dates. And that was like our announcement. So everybody was so excited because I've had friends ask me for years, like, when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have a baby? So we did that, and it was just such excitement. And then after that, so about around 20 weeks, we found out what we were going to have. So we were going to have a boy, and we decided to do a gender reveal. So we didn't tell any of our family. Only my husband and I knew what we were having. And then we had like 30, 40 people come in from various places, and we did a gender reveal. So that was in December. That was around the 19th. And that was right after, like, I think I was 20, maybe like 25 weeks around then. So, you know, we get through Christmas, everything's going well. And then I had a 28-week appointment. So I went in, I was supposed to do my gestational diabetes test. So have you drink the little juice, and you have a time limit. So they do an ultrasound accompanied with that. So I had to do the ultrasound first, and then I was supposed to do the drink part second. So I went in for the ultrasound, and everything was normal. You know, the tech was like, okay, we're going to put the stuff on your stomach. So we did that. My husband went to all my appointments with me, so he was there with me. And so they kind of, you know, she went through the anatomy, and I could tell something was different because the way that she did it wasn't as expressive as the first time she did it in the 20 week.
Mm-hmm.
So she just was kind of looking, and I could tell it was something wrong, but I couldn't like pinpoint it. I was just like, oh, there he is. I'm so excited, you know.
Right. And
so
then they're
wasn't
also not allowed to
registering.
say anything. So she's
Yeah,
probably like doing her best not to like
to freak
show
me
any
out.
kind of expression. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's very like, here's his head, this is that. And then she was like, well, I'm gonna go get the doctor, because one thing she did say is there's not a lot of fluid around him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what that meant. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm like, oh, well, you know, how do we get more fluid? Do I need to drink more water? What do I need to do? You know?
Yeah.
And it didn't register. And so my husband actually was sitting closest to the screen, and he told me after the fact that he could see that our baby's head was measuring at 24 weeks, but he was supposed to be 28. So he was really tiny. And so she's like, let me go get the doctor. And so she went, and then when she came back, she's like, I'm gonna clean you up, and the doctors are across the hall. So I was like, oh no. Like after that, I just knew like, oh, here we go. So I didn't know what it would be. I didn't think it would be so devastating, but I knew something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in the room, and there were 2 doctors, and they had a box of Kleenex. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
So it was like so dramatic. So, and all I just remember, she sat me down, and the doctors we had were really nice.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't, you know, so stern, but she's like, so I want you to know, when we were doing the ultrasound, the baby didn't have a heartbeat. And, you know, and then she kind of after that, I mean, I heard her, but, you know, it just kind of went like, skirt, you know, record stop. So she's like, you know what, I'm going to come back. I'm going to give you guys a minute. So she gave us about 10, 15 minutes to just kind of be in the room and process.
And what was that initial feeling? I mean,
like my heart just dropped. I was like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm being punked, or like I'm in some type of twilight zone, because I'm like, we're coming in for just like a normal ultrasound. And you tell me in 20 minutes that I go from, you know, excited glee to
your entire life changing.
Yes, total devastation. So like I just remember I like let out the most piercing scream ever. I was like, I don't even know where it came from, like the depths of my soul, but it was just so terrible. And my husband was like trying to pull me together, like, okay, we gotta figure out what's next, like we gotta pull it together, you know. So the doctors come back in the room, and they're basically like, so sometimes when you're pregnant, things happen, and we're not able to explain them.
Yeah.
So she was like, I mean, from the outside, your son looked healthy. We won't really know. So then they kind of bombarded us with, you know, if you want, we could possibly do an autopsy on him just to kind of see if we find anything that was wrong. And she said, you're going to have to deliver him. So she says, you know, you can either come into the hospital today, you can come in tomorrow, or it was on a Friday. So she's like, you can come in Saturday or Sunday, or you can wait a couple weeks and let your body kind of just do it naturally. But she said, we kind of don't recommend that just because we don't know as far as health reasons with you, and we don't want, you know, complications. So if you can come in, we'll induce you, and you'll have to, you know, pretty much deliver him.
Yeah.
So we decided against that day just because I was like, I need a minute to process what's
too much
going on. I can't be rushed. And so they kind of let us go. They were like, they set up an appointment for us for 8:00 that next day, that Saturday. And we pretty much just kind of left. And they were like, you know, you guys will always be the parents, and nobody can ever take that away from you. He's still a baby. He's still a human. You know, he's still yours. So they did kind of give us that kind of perspective. And I was really happy that, you know, the doctors kind of walked us through that part.
Yeah.
But I was totally unprepared for Saturday. So like we went home, and my husband, you know, he's always like the really strong, you know, together, head of the house, you know, he's like, I gotta hold it together for us. And so we sat on the couch, and we just like looked like, what just happened? What happened? So I was like, we have to call our parents, let them know. So my husband was like the all-star. He called my parents first, each like individually. And he was just like, the baby does not have a heartbeat. So we lost him, you know? And so, of course, it's like we're like setting off bombs every time we call.
Yeah.
Because my mom was like at the hair salon. So she's like, I'll call you back. You know, my dad, he was at home. My dad is a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually was like, well, I'll call all of our family so you don't have to keep.
Oh, that was really nice.
So I was so thankful. I was like, Dad, I don't think you know like what that meant, because
it's so hard to inform everyone, because you're like reliving the story over and over and over.
Yes.
And everyone has questions, and then you have to, you know, it's a lot.
It was like, I was like, my mind can't even process this now, so I can't have any questions. Right. So my dad was like, I'll call your brothers, I'll call all your aunts and uncles, and we'll go from there. Mm-hmm. Then we called my husband's parents and let them know as well. Mm-hmm. And then like for like my closest friends, I just sent them a text and said, you know, we were in the hospital. We found out that the baby didn't have a heartbeat. So, you know, right, I have to prepare to deliver, but I'll keep you guys posted, you know, at a later time. So I was like, please no calls.
I did the same thing. Well, in my case, it was, I didn't have a stillbirth, but as you know, I ended up delivering a micro preemie. Mm-hmm. And after she was born, it so happened that all my best friends were together, because we're like, it's like a group of us that have grown up together. Mm-hmm. And so I made a phone call and I was like, hey, I had the baby. And in like 5 minutes, everyone was there. But for everyone else, like my other friends and like mm-hmm. the rest of the family, I just sent a text message and I was like, you know, we really appreciate all your prayers and everything, but don't text back. Please don't call. You know, just because there's so much emotions to process when you wake up, you know, pregnant, and then you go to bed and your entire life changed. It's
yes.
It's like so it's like, I don't even know. I mean, you know what I mean, but I don't really know how to put it into words. But yeah.
So like I was right there. So like once we finished with calling mm-hmm. In the text, then I was like, okay, I don't know what to do, so we're gonna pray. So like my husband like started praying and he lost it, mm-hmm. like broke down. And then of course I broke down, and we're just like standing in the living room bawling. And then I'm like, okay, so what do we do next? You know, so we like ordered food and just kind of sat quietly. And then I was like, I'm gonna try to get my mind mentally ready for tomorrow, because this is like just the beginning. So I kind of, before I went to bed, my mom was like, just take, you know, like a hot shower and try to decompress. So I've always been a fan of journaling. So I kind of took my shower and just wrote whatever like my mind dumped on the page. Like I don't even know what I was writing. I was just writing like until my hand got tired. And I just remember the night before I tried to fall asleep. I just like prayed like a silent prayer, like, Lord, please just give me peace, because I don't think I can make it. Like, I really need peace. So we both laid down and kind of called it a night, and you know, tossing and turning. And my appointment was I was supposed to go to the hospital by 8. So my husband actually woke up first. He told me that he went on a drive. He was like, I just needed to clear my head, like figure out what's going on. So he just kind of drove until he could drive no more, and then came back, and we kind of got prepared. And before the night before that Friday, we actually Googled what stillbirth is, because like I had never even heard of stillbirth. I'm like, what is that? Mm-hmm. So the doctors threw that term out. So when I looked it up, you know, they're like, it's babies that are, you know, born between, I believe it was like after 25 or something weeks, something like that. And so basically it's when your baby you deliver them, you know, but they're just not breathing. I mean, it's pretty much a lifeless baby.
Yeah.
And so I Googled images of stillbirth just so that I can prepare myself. Because I was like, I have no idea what this means. Like, me
Oh
and
my
my
gosh.
well, how do they get the baby out? Or like, where do they put the baby? Or we had no clue. Like, we were literally clueless as to what was going to happen. And the way that my doctor explained me getting induced, I just thought like, okay, I'm going to go to the hospital around 8, get induced. I'll be home by tonight, like.
Yeah. But you literally had to go through the labor,
Yes.
hours of waiting, the contractions.
Yes.
Everything.
They induced me, so they gave me some type of, I don't remember the first drug they gave me, because they gave me like 2 or 3 different drugs.
They probably gave you the Pitocin
That was last,
okay.
But I had to get to a certain centimeter count before they could give me the Pitocin. So they were trying like all these things that didn't work. So I was in the hospital for 3 days. I was there from Saturday to Monday.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So when we first get there, like on the way there, you would have thought like, oh my God, I cannot stop crying. I was like, I am literally going to a funeral to deliver my baby that is not alive. So like, it was crazy. So we get to the hospital, my husband signs me in, and they took us back. We're on the delivery floor.
Oh, that sucks.
Yes. But the hospital that I stayed in was like a godsend. So they put us at the very end. So I was in my own room.
Okay, good.
And they put this card on your door that has like a leaf falling in water. So they were like, that lets all the staff know when they come in that you're experiencing loss.
You were so lucky in that way to have a medical staff that was so sensitive to you, because so often I talk to women who don't have that, and it's like, whether they're with everybody else or then when they're leaving the hospital and they have to walk past the room where the babies are, and it's like no one is thinking about what this woman is going through.
Correct.
So I'm happy that, despite all that is going on, and I can't even imagine all the emotions that you're going through, that at least they were conscious of your feelings and your emotions and, all that you were about to experience. Because
like they really set it up where, I mean, the first nurse I had, it was a little bit overwhelming at first because I got in. There was a lady in that kind of walked us back to the room. And she was like, you need to change into your gown. And she took me to the bathroom and she was just like, I want you to know you're going to be okay. And like, I like literally collapsed on her.
Yeah.
It was like, she does not know me. Oh, I felt bad. But she was like, she reminded me of like my grandma or somebody. But she heard me. She was like, everything's going to be okay. And I was like, I knew then that my prayer was working. I was like, this is the peace that I asked for. Because like, as soon as I broke down and she did that, she hugged me. And then I got like my mommy game face on.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we're going to do this. It's going to be fine. I'm going to get through this. Let's do it. And I forgot to mention, so my mom was actually supposed to go to DC that weekend because my godmother was having a going away party. And my mom was like, I'm flying down there. And I was like, you don't have to fly down here. We'll be fine. Yeah. My mom's like, I'm coming. So I booked the flight. So I'll be there in the morning. So my husband and I, when we first got there, they like hooked me up to the IV, everything that they would do to somebody that was getting ready to deliver. And then we got bombarded with questions. So they're like, do you have a name? Do you want to cremate or do you want a funeral? Do you want a casket? I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute. Yeah. I didn't even think about that aspect. Like, what do they do with the body of the baby, Yeah. So they asked us that. They asked us, what else did they ask? Did we want to see him? Did we want to hold him? Did we want anybody in the room with us? And it was just like question on top of question on top. I was like, this is so much to process. Yeah. So that was a little difficult at first, just because we had no clue like what to expect. And then my doctor kind of came in and explained like how the induction process would work. She's like, we're going to start you off on this medicine, see where that gets us. We'll monitor you. That doesn't work, we'll give you something else, you know, and it kept going from there.
Yeah.
So my mom finally got there and kind of, she helped field calls too, because like people were blowing my phone up. And my mom and my husband were like, no calls, please, you know, please don't call. And, you know, for our parents, we kind of updated them, you know, when we could, but it was very interesting.
So you're there for 3 days.
I am.
I mean, what are you doing at this point to keep yourself uplifted? Because that's a long process.
One thing, I cannot say enough about the hospital I was at. The lady who was my second nurse, her name was Ginger. And Ginger, like, literally was like my stillbirth coach, if you want to say it like that. But she was like, every moment she would come in. At first, I was like, why did they come in? Because they come in very soft-spoken. They're like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Da, da, da. And like, by the time she kept coming in, because, you know, they're there for like 12-hour shifts, I kind of just got used to it. And then she kind of opened up to me about like what it's like. And so she was like, stillbirth is very different now than it was, you know, 20, 30 years ago. So she explained to me that her mom had a stillbirth, and basically just like the baby was whisked away and the mom never saw the baby. And
wow,
how she never was able, she said, I don't think my mom ever got over that, because she just always wondered. Because I was on the fence about seeing my baby at first, because I was
understand
like,
that.
do I want to see him?
Yeah.
I don't know. And it was so crazy because one of my friends, I texted and told her what was going on. And she was like, Alishia, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but my cousin went through this exact same thing, and I was at the hospital with her. She was like, see your baby, see him. You will not regret it. And so,
because the thing is, you think that you can't do it, because in your mind, you're like, how am I going to hold my deceased baby? I cannot do it.
Yes, like my mind doesn't even fathom what that means.
I totally understand.
And I was like, what if he looks crazy, or what if, you know, just all the what ifs pop in your mind. And she was like, I don't care what he looks like, at least get a glimpse of him, you know, just so for your own peace of mind. So I knew going to the hospital that I probably more than likely would see him. But my nurse just kind of told me that story with her mom and put me at ease. And she was like, you can do whatever you like this moment, the time when you see him and everything is yours. So she's like, we don't like to interfere. She's like, if you want to hold him right away, if you want me to clean him up, if you want me to, you know, go give him a bath first and, you know, kind of dress him, whatever you want to do, that's fine. And we just kind of follow your lead. So she was just so awesome at getting us prepared. And then they actually give you like this folder, and it has all this information about like stillbirth. It had something for dads, it had something for grandparents, something for mom. So like we were able to kind of read that prior to us delivering. So that kind of helped put my mind at ease as well. And then like while we were waiting, we had to make like the arrangements for what to do with his body. So we decided on cremation just because we didn't know how long we would be in the city that we live in now. And I didn't want to have, I was like, what if we leave?
I can totally relate because I had my daughter in New York, and I was like, for some reason I just felt like I wasn't gonna stay. And I just had this, I'm like, if we bury her here, I cannot leave. Yeah. You know? And so we decided on cremation as well. So I completely understand. When you said that, I'm like, light bulbs going off. I totally get it. Because then you feel like you can, you know, although they are always with you, it does give you a sense of peace as a parent when, you know, you can take them with you. And
you know exactly where they are. Yeah. So that, and like the funeral home, they had like a list of funeral homes that they work with. So they do everything free of cost. And they were so helpful as well. So like everything just kind of worked itself out so smoothly that I'm like, for this to be such a horrid, you know, situation, the hospital definitely made it a lot easier I guess, a lot easier to swallow, you know.
Yeah.
So during our wait, we kind of just, you know, watched TV or, you know, just did some normal things. Our pastor came and prayed with us, and we had, I mean, my mom was there, so just, you know, we talked about it and kind of talked with my husband and how, just to gauge how all of us were feeling. And then probably that Sunday night, at like around midnight, because they stopped me from eating and everything. So they gave me the Pitocin finally, and then like I started having contractions, but I was kind of, they let me sleep, but they were monitoring my contractions. So they were like, your contractions are getting stronger. And they were like, you're a tough cookie, because I didn't really ask for any drugs per se. Like, I didn't know it was contractions because I was asleep. I just felt kind of like, oh, okay, I feel something.
Yeah.
So probably around, because they were like, at any time you can ask for epidural, you know, if you want it. So probably around like 5:30, I was like, okay, I think it's time for the epidural. So they gave me the epidural. Everybody had to leave the room. The nurse kind of walked me through what she was going to do. Got the epidural, went smoothly. And then I was like laying in the bed, and I was like, I feel really intense pressure, but it didn't hurt. It just was like, pressure. So my mom's like, I'm going to go get the nurse. She went to get her, and she's like, yeah, the head is about to come out. So that was like literally maybe an hour later, after getting the epidural. And then I probably pushed less than 10 times and he was out. So he was, we named our son after my husband. So he was a junior, but his name was Derek Jarrell Anderson Jr. So he was born Monday morning at 6:48 a.m. And he came out, and they like wrapped him in this little blanket and let us hold him. And I was just like, oh my God, he's so angelic. Like, I could not believe how like peaceful I felt. It was just such it's weird to explain it, because I'm like, you're holding a deceased baby, but it felt so like natural, and he just
I understand.
So peaceful, you know. So we were just like in awe, like we actually created this little human. And it was, so the nursing staff kind of went out and kind of gave us our moment. With my mom didn't want to be in the room, so she left. So it was just my husband and I and the baby, and they kind of gave us some time to just be a family. So we kind of took pictures on our cell phones, and just kind of, you know, I'm like the mom, so I'm like, let me see his hair, let me see this, you know, just exploring every little crevice of him. And then my nurse came and got him probably like an hour later, and did the weighing, and she did his footprints and handprints and all that stuff, and they washed him up and all that, whatever they do to, you know, check him per se.
Did they give you I'm sure they like a memory box kind of thing?
Yes. So because they kind of took him out for a little while, and so my nurse brought us this memory box, and it had like a lot of everything in there was donated from just different groups. So they had like a blanket that was knit. They had like a little ornament that had a feather in it, because they say like when a feather appears, an angel is near. That's one of the sayings that I've heard. So they gave us that. They had a book that I guess of some parents that lost their child put together, that you can kind of fill out with the information and write in it and stuff. So that was cool. There was a book, I can't remember the name of it. I think it was Still, maybe. But the author was also a mom who experienced stillbirth. So she gave us that. And then, I mean, there was just so much stuff in the box. They had like a little christening outfit, just a bunch of random things that were, you know, comforting. And then she also said that we can do a photo shoot with him, and they have photographers that come up to the hospital free of charge and will take the baby's picture. So we decided to have that done as well.
Okay. So, I mean, you're kind of bringing me back right now. You're interviewing you, and I'm like, I'm like walking through the story.
I know.
So, I mean, when you guys, how long did you stay there for the 2 days or?
So they let me do my epidural. They were like, you have to walk. So we kind of walked a little bit, and I did fine because he was only 1 pound and 5 ounces, so he's really tiny. And I was able to, they were like, if everything checks out, you'll be fine. You can leave today. So I left that afternoon. I think I left around 5 o'clock or something like that. It was pretty early evening-ish. But we kind of stayed in the hospital just for that one day.
How did you feel leaving the hospital?
I guess I'll back up. So when we finally, cause she brought my son back in the room, and when we had to say that final like goodbye, I think that was probably the hardest part of me being in the hospital. Just like, you see this beautiful baby, and it's like a good, hello, and then in the same day you have to say goodbye forever to your child. I don't think people understand the magnitude of what that means. So we were holding them, and we kind of like prayed and like just kind of blessed them back up to God, and like, no, this is your angel to have now. So putting them in that bed and just seeing her roll him away, that was probably the most hardest point. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And so like, it was, that part was really, really tough.
I know what you mean.
It was so good to have my mom there, because she was just like, your strength as a mom. She was like, you are mom,
Absolutely.
Just to see that and to see you go through all this and still be able to say like, that's my child. She was like, I'm just so proud of you. So that really helped to have that kind of support there. But it was just like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And like right before we left, my nurse talked to us again, and she was just like, one thing I want to tell you is that men and women grieve very
differently.
Very different. So she was like, I understand that, sometimes it's going to be tough, and you may want him to grieve a certain way. He may want you to, show a different emotion. But she was like, just don't let it come between you guys. And then the other great piece of advice she told me was like, people are going to be uncomfortable around you. So you just have to prepare your mind. She's like, people are going to say stupid things to you. They're going to say sensitive things.
Tell me about it. We're going to get into that in a little bit too.
But she just was like, be ready. Like, she prepared me. So I felt like I was like a fighter. Like, okay, I'm going out into, because like the hospital was such a pleasant bubble. Yeah,
you were in this like bubble of just peace, and everybody taking care of you.
Yeah, everybody understood what was going on. She like made sure nobody was in the waiting room. I didn't see any babies like on the floor, which was crazy. I was on the delivery floor, didn't see any babies, didn't hear any babies crying. So she just like really protected me.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
You have to go back into society, and it sucks.
Yeah. So like once we left, she kind of wheeled me out. I had to go in a wheelchair, and it's just so weird because you go into the hospital, you're expected to leave with the baby, empty-handed.
That was the toughest part for me.
Really,
I could not get out that wheelchair.
Really,
because it made me real. If I left, that was it. Like I think that's when it like really hit me. I'm like, the baby's still here though. Like if I leave without the baby, like this is it. Like I'm not gonna physically be able to see my daughter.
Yes.
I cannot get out that wheelchair. I was like, if I get into this car and drive away, like like you said, like you are in this like bubble, and everyone is like nurturing you and helping you out, and you're protected. But then if in my mind, I'm like, if I get in this car, then I have to go back to real life. I'm gonna have to actually deal with these emotions, and that was tough. Like you said, the part when they're taking the baby away for the final time, that was tough. But I was not getting out that wheelchair.
And like my mom, like the nurse was out there with me, and my mom drove. She had a rental car, so I rode with my mom. My husband was like, "I'm gonna go get us some food," so we kind of drove separate. But one thing I will say, like as far as hospital stuff, because like I had no clue, so like I didn't pack any hospital bag, anything. So I would say if you do have to experience that, definitely pack a bag like you're going to deliver a baby. Like I had no clue I was like going through actual delivery. So that was very interesting for me.
Is there anything specific that you brought with you that was like your kind of like your safety blanket kind of, or you just really were like, I'm just ready to do this? And
yeah, I was just like, I'm ready. when he comes, let's do this, you know. Because like all I brought to the hospital when I went was my phone and my charger and my iPad, because I was like,
you need something to do.
I might be up here for a little bit, but like my husband went back because the hospital's not far from our house, so he kind of went home and got me a few things. But I was like, I had no idea I was literally delivering the baby. So
all right, and so you guys go through this experience, and now you're home and you're back in real life. You're back in society. Like, what does your grieving process? What was that like? Or what is it like? Because I mean, it never really.
Yeah, mine was very different than my husband. So like I said, I'm a sharer. So the more I talked about it, the better I felt about it. So like anytime I could bring up my son, I would like try to like.
Yeah, you're like bursting at the.
What happened?
Like, somebody asked about my kids. Anybody?
Yes, anybody. So like the first person I talked to like thoroughly about the ordeal was my mom, because she stayed with us for a few days after we got out. And so I just kind of told her like, this makes me feel better. I don't know why, but you know, I'm able to talk about it. So that helped. But like once she left, and because my husband took a few days off of work, so you know, we were just kind of still in our incubator. But then after that, like once stuff really got back to normal, it was like a cry fest for months. Like, every night I could not go to sleep without bursting into tears. And my husband's just like, come on, you know, it's okay. And always just kind of played the strong role, like whatever I needed, supportive. He was just like, you know, he didn't really say much, but he was just always there. So like, if I needed, go get me a towel. Like he already knew what time it was. Like once the lights go off, it is a cry session. So like I would just cry myself to sleep for months. Like that was my normal routine.
What was it like going back to work for you?
Well, I was in school, so I wasn't working, but I went back to school.
What was that like?
Like it was crazy because I told my teacher or my professors before I went back to school. And so like they sent me cards. Some of my classmates sent me cards while I was out, but I didn't stay out that long because I was like, oh my God, I'm about to graduate. That was the other thing. I was graduating that semester.
Oh wow.
And I was like, I have a 4.0. I don't want to lose it. So I'm like trying to like get back, and my teachers are like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing?
Oh my God. I had a manager ask me that too when I went back to work. I stayed out for 6 weeks.
Okay.
But literally she was like, I don't understand why I was not ready to go back to work when I went back to work. So
it's like during the day I was fine. But as soon as I stopped being busy, that is when like
all the emotions came.
Yes. So like as long as I was doing something, schoolwork, you know, you probably couldn't tell. But as soon as I like unwinded, that's when it would just like.
I mean, at night when you're winding down, that's when we all think about like our day and you know what happened, what went wrong, what do I want to do tomorrow. So I understand that completely. And so, I mean, so for your husband, what did his grieving process look like? I know he was the strong one for you. But
I always would, because I'm such a question person. So I'm like, how are you? You know, do you want to talk about it? So he was like, I'm fine. So I would kind of like try to get him to talk about it just to make sure. Because I was like, I know I'm taking up a lot of the energy here because I'm like out of control. But
yeah,
I would try to talk to him as much. I was like, do you miss him or how do you feel? You know, so we would kind of have our conversations, and it really kind of brought us closer because I'm like, nobody really understands
except your husband.
exactly. Or I'm like, even people that have gone through this, like, there's no like, it's a club you don't want to be in, but you don't understand it unless you're there.
I'll tell
You
you,
know?
yep.
So I try to talk to him as much as possible because I would join some like support groups online, and some people are like, my husband and I are going further and further apart. And
Yep.
I saw one girl who was like, her husband wanted to divorce her because she couldn't get over grief. And I was like, oh my God, like I cannot even imagine. So I was like, I don't want to end up there.
Yeah.
So I would try to
people don't understand that too. I mean, it really can drive your marriage apart. And, you know, we're lucky that we have amazing husbands in that way, but there are women I speak to and their husbands might blame them, you know, and they're grieving already. And then on top of it, the person they love is, you know, throwing another, you know, set of obstacles their way, or, you know, or sometimes the woman just checks out completely because she's just, you know, overwhelmed with emotion. So that's definitely something that's really important. Just, you know, working on your partnership, whether you're married or your fiance, your boyfriend, whoever it is at the time. It's really important to talk. And you know, if you can do like counseling, did you guys do anything like that, like any therapy?
So my husband was like, because I just felt like I was not getting better. I was like, I mean, of course, you know, they always say time heals and blah, blah, blah. But I was just like, I feel like I'm losing it a little bit. And like, sometimes I would just snap. Like, I was like, why am I so mad? What did I do? Like, what did you do to me? Like, it wasn't even that deep. Like, girl, what are you doing? So I was like, I just felt horrible. Like, I'm crying, I'm mad, you know. And then, so I was looking for a counselor, and I was like, I don't know where to find one. We tried to go through insurance. It so happened that my school had like a counseling department, so I was able to get 10 free sessions through my school.
Wonderful.
Which was awesome. And so like my therapist like really helped me to kind of figure out, because I was like, I'm in school, I'm trying to graduate, I'm trying to see what life is after graduation. Pick this huge, oh yeah, by the way, I lost my baby, you know. And so she really helped me kind of stay on track and walk through, you know, what I needed to do to kind of help me to start healing per se.
Therapy is super helpful. I think therapy helped me to figure out what my brain was doing, because it's such a traumatic experience too. And my therapist, she diagnosed me with a slight case of PTSD. So there were like I don't know, like my brain was just doing really weird things. Like, you know, church it was like I had different places for different parts of like my grief. Like church helped me to just have that peace and like find hope. Like when I would like, you know, things would scare me, or I would, you know, things would happen and it didn't really happen. And I'm just like, what, like no one sees this except me, no one hears this except like, you know, and I started feeling a little crazy. So therapy helped me with like the scientific part of it, you know. And I think because people sometimes I know I went into therapy like I didn't really want to go, but everyone was telling me that I needed to go because they were looking at me like, ma'am, listen, like we are seeing something that you're not seeing. So you need to go. And I was just like, I don't get it, because it's not like she's gonna give me my kid back, you know. So I was very opposed to it. But now that I went, I love therapy now. Now I'm like, oh my God, I need a new therapist. I haven't been in, you know, like a year. But just, you know, for anyone who is hesitant about therapy or anything or any kind of counseling, know that it's not going to fix you, but they will give you the tools that you need to help you cope day to day, even with and I'm sure you can speak to this, Ali, there are going to be certain triggers And you need to know how to deal with that, because I
Yes.
can't tell you, I don't know if you've experienced this, but public meltdowns, I was famous for those. I could be in the supermarket, at work, if I would just have these moments where I couldn't cope, but through therapy, over time, I was able to, okay, this is a breathing technique I should do, or, think about this, or, just meditate, or, something. So is that how like counseling helped you as well?
I think the biggest thing that I really took away, she helped me realize, like, I would associate like my tears with something bad. So like all the emotional stuff that I would go through, she was like, you think of your emotions as good and bad. And they're not. They just are. And I was like, oh, okay, that's it. That was like my aha moment. So she was like, if you have to cry, because like the first day I talked to her, I like broke down. I felt so bad, like for my husband. I was like, I always was like, I'm so sorry. As soon as the doctor told me like there was no heartbeat, I just turned to my husband. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So I always felt like it was something that I did, or like, it's not. You can't blame you because you don't know what happened. And then she was like, your emotions just are. You can't. They're not good or bad. They happen. It's part of moving, And so when she told me that, I was like, okay, so I don't feel bad if I have to cry it out, if I get upset. She was like, just don't stay in that place.
Yeah.
Give yourself time to do that, because that is part of grieving.
It's a natural part of grieving. And I think it's part of too, just like in our society, it's like crying or like sadness. Like if you ever really think about it, like anytime something bad happens, people are like, oh, don't cry, don't be sad.
Right.
And it's like they're taking away the fact that God made you with a range of emotions.
Exactly.
You're supposed to use all of them.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? So, but we're so trained to don't cry, don't be sad. That's, that's weakness or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like when something like this happens and your body is naturally just trying to get these tears out, trying to get these emotions out, we're fighting back. And then that's what's causing like the depression or like, all the crazy stuff that's going on in our heads. But, and just to go back a little bit, because like the nurse was telling you in the hospital that people are going to treat you a little weird. I mean, did people treat you a little strange, or, I know
like everybody wants to be very sensitive, or they like, of course you hear all the cliches, praying for you, it was in God's will. And
don't you hate all that?
I hated it. I was like, okay, don't say that. I'm very, into my spirituality. And, I'm very in tune with God. We have great connection, but I'm like, I don't want to hear that right now.
I don't care if you can be the biggest Christian. No one wants to hear after their baby died that it was God's will or God brought his angel back.
Yes.
That's one of the things I really want to do with this show, is for people who, if they know someone who's gone through this, to kind of learn what not to say, because people say things and they think that they're being helpful, but they're actually hurting you, but they don't realize it because they haven't been through it, fortunately for them.
Right.
But,
I know you had a son before, right? Before you lost your daughter?
No, she was my first.
Oh, she was your first. Okay. Because I know some people are like, you can always have kids again. And I'm like,
oh, I got that all the time. I got that like straight out the hospital, like 30 minutes after leaving the hospital. I had a family member tell me, oh, don't be sad, you'll have other kids.
And I'm like, one kid does not negate the other. That just sounds preposterous.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like we had somebody at our church. I was like, oh my God. I guess she didn't hear the memo because like my pastor, like let everybody know.
Okay.
We didn't go to church for a while, like maybe a few weeks at least. And so my pastor was like, don't say anything crazy, or some people may not have known our situation. So like, this lady comes up to me after church and she's like, you guys need to really start thinking about having kids. You've been married for, I was like, oh my God. Like, I was just embarrassed for her because I'm like, oh, she doesn't know. And
yeah.
I mean, people just come up to you, or like people avoid you altogether because they have no idea what to say.
Yeah.
So that's kind of awkward because they're like, so they just want to like talk about anything but, and I'm like,
it's like, yeah, so how's the weather today?
Right, like, okay, we're not gonna address the elephant in the room.
Right.
So that part kind of got a little iffy. But for the most part, like, people were helpful. They're like, if you want to talk about it, let me know. Or so that helped. And then I blogged on my blog. It was a fashion blog, but I was like, I have to release somehow. So I would talk about it on my blog. I made posts, like when I was sad, I would make posts on Facebook, and I was like, this is not for life, people. This is just really trying to decompress and figure out what is going on. So I would make like statuses like, today is not a good day, you know, because everybody on social media likes to share the good stuff. And I'm like, the part that really, I guess, touched me and let me know, like, okay, you're doing the right thing, is when I would get like so many messages, and they're like, because you're sharing, it helped me get through something. It may not even be having to do with baby loss, but just by you being candid and open and transparent, that's helped me to, you know, realize some things that I'm struggling with as well. And I'm like, so many people just want realness, and we're always, especially like being a blogger, you know, you got to package everything, so
everything's perfect.
Yes. So that part was refreshing, just to be like real and honest, and like, I'm having a sucky day, I'm heated today, I'm mad because I saw somebody with the baby bump. Why are they, you know, why do they get to keep their baby, not me, you know?
I get it.
So
do you feel comfortable talking about your pregnancy now at all, or?
Yeah.
Now you are pregnant again.
I am.
And I, like I just mentioned, Jolie was my first as well. So, did you have any hesitations in terms of getting pregnant again? Like, you know, what was that process like to even decide to try again? Because some people may be stuck in, you know, they might still be stuck, and, you know, they really do want to become a mom, but they are just consumed with fear, which, you know, I understand. But how are you working through it? Because you're pregnant.
Yeah, because I am still pregnant. But when we initially found out, I was actually at home. My husband was on a work trip. I went back to Michigan for a family reunion. And I was like, I don't believe I've had my period. So I just kind of like on a whim took a test, because previously I had taken tests and they were negative, and it like kind of made me upset, because I'm like, once your mind is like, okay, I'm in pregnancy mode. I want to get pregnant and I can't, like, then it would bring me back to the, oh, why am I even doing this? Like, I should have a baby that's 3 months or 4 months, however, you know, much time has passed. But my husband and I were just like, you know, once we had our doctor clear us, we went back to our 6-week appointment, told us about the autopsy. They found nothing that they could contribute to my son's death. So that was, I don't know if that was good or bad. Like, I felt like, I mean, maybe it was just fluke, or so I wasn't, I guess, hesitant to try again. But she was like, you're healthy, you can do it when you're ready. I'm not saying do it now, whenever you want, you know. And so we kind of just were like, if it happens, it happens, because that's what happened with our first son. We said, if we do get pregnant, then that's great. If not, we'll just, you know, keep trying until we do. So it's crazy, because I found out like kind of around the same time I found out with my first son that I was pregnant in August. And so I was at home and I took a test and I was like, oh my God. And so this time I told, of course, my husband, but this time we were like, we're going to tell only our close family, because I was like, we need that support. So I told my parents, like, when I was home, and we called my husband's mom and dad and let them know, and our brothers, and that was like all we told. I was, the first time I was just so giddy to get it out, and then I was like, this time I was like, I don't know if I'm even gonna tell people until I see a baby that is crying and healthy, you know.
that was my plan with my first son. I was like, I'm not telling anybody I'm pregnant until I have the baby. And
Yes.
then I'll be like,
Yes.
hey, I was pregnant this whole year. Didn't, but at the end of the day, you're still excited, and
You are.
and being a person of faith, I know, I'm sure, you're just leaning on your faith and just, having confidence that, God is just gonna, see you through this and everything's gonna be fine.
I think I had, at the very beginning, I had a lot of anxiety. And so I'm like, oh my God, is he okay? Or, just everything was rushing through my mind. Like, should I tell? I didn't want to tell anybody,
Oh yeah, we spoke about that, the anxiety part.
Yes, like I was just so like uptight, like, oh my gosh. And then, once you get through those little milestones, because like I lost my son at 28 weeks. And so I just had my 28-week appointment like a week ago. And like just
felt like you couldn't breathe until that appointment.
It was like before then, like I guess around like maybe during the ultrasound, the 20-week, that's when I kind of was like, oh my God, And then I started reading a book. It was called The 4-8 Principles. And it just basically talked about how you have to train your mind. Like your mind needs to be trained to be joyful.
Yep.
And so it was like, you cannot think something, but get a different result. And so I was like, if I keep having anxiety, fear, it's not going to bring about positivity and joy and faith. So I was like, I can't do both. Like he was like, you have to train your mind to do one or the other. You can't do both at the same time. And so once I read that, I was like, okay. So I just like every morning I would be like, we're fine, pray, talk to the baby, and get through this. And so when I went to my appointment, I was just kind of at peace by then, because I had just been like, we're gonna get through this. I'm gonna have a healthy baby. That's it. But yes, I did definitely at the very beginning have a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, and I try to, like I'll do these little videos on my camera at home. It's just for me, just to kind of see where I was at the time. And so far I've done like 6 of them just throughout my pregnancy, just to see, like, gauge how I'm feeling.
Yeah. That's really important. I really like that idea.
Yeah, just to kind of see, because I'm like, every day is not great, And then the part that I think people still miss, because they're like, oh, that's so awesome, you're pregnant again. But I'm like, but then
you're
again,
still grieving.
Flip side of it, I'm like, a parent that has experienced loss, your heart is like in 2 different dimensions. Like you're in the loss and you're still excited about your baby. And I didn't want to get like super attached, but I was like, then I don't want to like
not be happy.
Yeah, so
it's such a strange place to be in. You're grieving, but then you're welcoming new life at the same time, and then you're excited, and then some days you feel guilty for feeling excited because you're like, I should still be sad,
right? And
it's like your brain is constantly doing this like tennis match back and forth. And I spoke to you about this a little bit. Even though time has passed, I'm still grieving. It doesn't go away. And even with each pregnancy, I still have to fight that voice in the back of my head that's like, hey, remember when this happened? You know what I mean? You have to be prayed up. You have to like have that mental toughness. You have to, like affirmations worked really well for me.
Yes.
And just having a lot of positivity around you, because you're having to like fight this thing in the back of your head that's like trying to show you what can happen, and it's like, nope, I rebuke that, not trying to do it.
Yes.
You really have
if you let your mind be open to the negativity, it will creep in so quick. You'll be like, what just happened? So you have to guard your mind for sure, and in any way you can do that, whether if you like exercising or writing or whatever, painting, singing, whatever you need to do to keep your mind in that positive space, that definitely helps.
Yeah, it's all in our minds. It's all in our minds. So I definitely recommend reading, meditating, like you said, anything you can do,
whatever you can do.
Going out to, not being at home.
Yes.
Like when you're at home by yourself, then your mind starts wandering and stuff like that. So it's really important to be around other people if possible, and just do as much as you can to stay busy, but still allow yourself to have those emotions and process those emotions, because it's I don't know, it's strange that
it is
losing your first.
It is. And then one thing I want to mention too, because I knew that, so my son was born January 18th, 2016, but his due date was actually April 7th. And so I knew that just through reading and being in a lot of the support groups, that those are trigger dates, the date they're born, the date that was supposed to be your due date. And I was like, I do not want to spend every year being sad on his due date.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do, I created like a little hashtag, but it was Do Good for DJ. And so I just wanted everybody to do a random act of kindness that day. And so like that has sparked me to be like, okay, every year we're going to do this. And I want it to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Like just something that like that's his little day of remembrance, and something that we can give back in honor of him, so, and being kind to people that, who probably wouldn't understand the story, but, you can use his name as a awesome starting point, like just to pay it forward in a sense. So that really gave me comfort, because like when we did it last year, we had like 30 or 40 people do it with this. I was like, you don't have to spend money necessarily. You just, whatever you can do to help somebody else and do it in honor of him. So that really like helped a lot for that day. Cause I was like, I don't want to be sad. I don't want to, just have to go through it every year dreading this day. So that kind of gave me purpose for, that due
Can
date.
I tell you something now that you're saying that? So that's part of why I launched Jolie Bloom on her birthday.
Oh.
Because it gives me something to do on her birthday.
Yeah.
Because if not, I'm just gonna stay in bed, Yeah. And I do start that day off. I mean, every year I do start my day crying, just because.
Yes.
I wake up and my body just knows what day it is. But then it's also the anniversary of this this business that I've created as her legacy. And then because it's the anniversary date, there's usually like, some kind of promotion or something. So then I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, I don't even have time to sit and cry, because I just got 20 orders in the last hour. So I've never admitted that to anyone.
That's awesome though.
Yeah, I've never admitted that to anyone, except, well, now everyone knows. But yeah, I really do think it's important to do something in honor of your child on their birthday. We also do a balloon release, and my dad will do it. He's still in New York, so every year he goes and he gets his balloons for his granddaughter, and he goes and he releases the balloons. And that brings me to my next point. How have your parents dealt with it? Because sometimes we don't realize how other members of our family are grieving this loss as well.
Yeah.
Husbands.
I think a big thing, a big part that really kind of just like touched my heart. When I graduated, my family came into town, because everybody was, when I had them, the only person that was in town was my mom. So my dad came up with the idea to do he was like, let's do something, after everybody, we'll have everybody together, we'll go out to dinner and then we'll do something special. So we ended up doing like a candlelight little visual for him. And my dad spearheaded and just kind of spoke, and then we did a little prayer, and it was just really nice that somebody else thought about it, Yeah. And then on the days when we did the Do Good for DJ, all my family, I asked all my family to participate. So they let me know what they did during that day to help somebody else. So just the little things like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I would talk to my parents a lot about just how I was feeling. And so my mom was like, yeah, it's been tough, just as a grandparent, and trying to, people at work, they've told people, oh, my child's expecting. And she was like, I guess the hardest part for me has just been not being able to do anything. like, you're my child and I can't. He was like, that's been tough, but the literature that they got from the hospital, my mom and my husband's mom said those were very helpful to kind of explain what's been going on, you know, with them as well, just as a grandparent of losing, you know, a child. And so like this summer, we're supposed to go back to Michigan, and my dad will be turning 60. So we're doing like a big banquet for him.
Awesome.
But while we're home, like, I have 2 older brothers. So my oldest brother has 3 kids, and then my middle brother has 5 kids. And so we said we wanted to do like family pictures. So we're going to have one with all the kids kind of lined up with their number when they were born. And so my mom said that we can put like a little bear and have a onesie for the bear and, you know, represent DJ. And then of course my new son will be here by then. So I just thought, you know, just little touches like that where we can still include him, or like people called me for his birthday in January. It was his 1 year. So just the little things like that kind of like, you know, feels good to have him remembered.
Yeah, it means so much because sometimes too, like our brains will trick us and we're like, did this really happen? Like, was that baby real? So it really is nice to have people acknowledge your baby and, you know, say his name and things like that, because it reminds you that you didn't make this up.
Yes.
Sometimes your mind will play with you, and you know what I mean? It's, you know, those days are tough. So it really helps when your family is supportive in that way.
And I think the further away you get from it, because of course at the beginning everybody's like, oh, condolences, and you know, but then the further away it gets, it's like back to regular scheduled programs for everybody. And I'm like, I understand because life goes on.
Right.
But you're still kind of stuck in this like mode of grieving. Everybody else is like, all right, girl, you know, are you done yet? So it does help to have really acknowledge, like, no, this really was my child. It's real. This is my everyday life, you know, and I still have to find ways to acknowledge him even though he's not here.
Yeah, my family still, and my closest friends, they still call me on her birthday and make sure I'm okay, because they know I'm just going to be waking up going through it. So,
yes.
You know, family and friends, that is super important, you know, because like I said, we don't stop. I mean, it's a child, and a child is supposed to grow up. You're supposed to raise this child. So every time a birthday comes or a holiday, things like that, those are triggers for us. So to have, you know, our loved ones still acknowledge our children on those trigger dates is very, you know, helpful in our grieving process that basically doesn't end. And it does get better.
It does.
I'm sure you've seen, although your loss is pretty recent, and you're doing amazing, by the way, for someone who, I mean, it's only been just over a year. You're doing fantastic, you know.
Thank you so much.
Just, you know, I know some days are harder than others.
And, like, his birthday was hard.
Of course, yeah.
And my husband's like, come on. Like, he already knows, like, my, you know, like, my pattern. But, you know, and, like, so whenever I hear, I will always love you, lose it. Like, lose it. So my song is One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey. Her other one, Always Be My Baby. That's my other trigger by Mariah Carey. I was like, oh. But I have like a playlist.
I feel that song, and what is that? I'll Be Missing You. Those two songs, I feel like anytime I'm really sad, they always just show up, and I feel like it's just her letting me know that she's around, and she's you know, she's just letting me know she's here. But if it's just like a regular day, if I'm feeling good that day and that comes on, I'm done.
Yes, I'm like, don't even play the Whitney.
I'm like, Diddy, this is not your time. I do not want to see you dancing in the rain in this music video right now. Like, it popped up on my YouTube. It popped up on my, you know, like when you just let the songs play.
Yeah.
And he's just in that stupid black suit. And I'm like, I'm like, I can't with you right
No
now.
Diddy.
I'm sorry, this is a beautiful song, but no, like this is a trigger for
I
me.
can't today.
I'm having a good day, and we're not doing this, sir. So I'm sorry. We're gonna put on some Migos or something. Like, I'm not doing this. But,
Yes.
but this has been amazing talking to you because I feel like we have, although our stories are different, we have so much in common. And that's part of why I wanted to do this, because I want other parents to know that they're not alone, and all these things that we feel like makes us such an anomaly. As baby loss parents, we're all going through it,
Yes.
and everyone's grieving process looks different. Everyone's grieving process, the timeline is different. And I want people to see different women at different stages in their grief, and what they're doing and how they're coping, because I don't want anyone to beat themselves up thinking that they should be at a certain place in their grief by this amount of time, or because people and sometimes your loved ones, unfortunately, they just look at you like, are you not over this yet? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why are you still sad?
Right.
And,
like, and yeah, just like a baby, just no biggie,
Yeah, like you're just like, you're still sad. Like, you don't, it's hard to understand unless you've been there. So I'm just really passionate about us sharing our stories and putting faces to this, because something you said stuck out to me when you were saying like you weren't familiar with stillbirth before. Like a lot of these things I didn't know either, and I mentioned this in an earlier episode with someone else. I'm like, people don't tell you about these things.
No.
You just think you go in, you get pregnant and have a baby, so you're totally unprepared for the possibilities of what can happen, unfortunately. And I don't know if there's like a right or wrong way to prepare someone for that, because I could see, if it's like your first pregnancy and you're like, well, this can happen. That would definitely be terrifying. But we do need to educate.
Yes, I was gonna say we need better education. Because the other flip side to it is I had so many people reach out to me and say I lost a baby after me sharing, and I was like, I would have never known. And most people do it in silence. Like
it's a secret club.
They don't get to share that they had a baby, or and even like with miscarriage or whatever, like everybody has their own I guess like grieving way, because they don't talk about the differences. I had a classmate, her baby was in the neonatal unit, and he lived for like 60 days and then passed away. So I mean, there's so many different
it's a broad spectrum.
So it's just like, I feel like they should, I don't know, like you said, how they can educate, but like when I went back and looked at pregnancy books, it was like maybe a paragraph in a whole, 500-page book about stillbirth. And I'm like, that is just like literally not acceptable. Because people need to know that this is a possibility. You don't want to think that, but there's nothing that can mentally prepare you for that. But just to know that that's an option, because I'm like, once you experience that, the rose-colored glasses of pregnancy bliss are off forever. Like, be like, oh, I'm pregnant. Like, so many people are just like, I'm pregnant. And,
I know. I thought I was the only person that thought like this. Like, people, like, they're just like, but some people, they really are blessed in that way, where they've never had a loss, and they have like 5 kids, and they're totally good. And I'm just like, how does that
what does that feel like? Like, it must be amazing.
Exactly. So I understand what you're saying. I don't have that luxury of just being pregnant and being totally blissful. It's a battle every single day with my mind to be positive, to not think about what can go wrong. And like, I have like friends and family like, oh my god, like when are you guys gonna have more kids and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, it takes so much for me to mentally even think about having a child. It's really not that easy for me. And then because I am treated as a high risk patient every time I have a baby, the physical part of it too, that's also not, pleasant. So, I mean, who wants to get this like injection in their butt every week?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, and just depending on what type of high risk patient you are, there are different things I have, whether you have to do like genetic testing or different things like that, for those of us who have lost babies, unfortunately, not all the time is it that simple to just keep having kids, or there's so much to really think about, and the mental part of it is hard, and then the physical part we can all, we're women, like we're super strong, like
we're built for these.
Got it. But everyone struggles, mentally with something, and for women like us, just knowing the what can possibly happen, it is a little, just the day to day. And like you said, like even go like the milestones, like I remember with my oldest son Grayson, it was like, okay, I got through week 8, all right, feel a little bit good now, I got through here, I feel a little good. My daughter was born at a little bit before week 24.
Okay.
So I felt like I couldn't breathe until I got to that 24-week mark.
Yes.
So it's like every little thing I'm like, okay, I feel like I can breathe a little better as I get closer to the end. And then, so, it's just leave people's uteruses alone, just even just asking people, when are you going to have kids, things like that. Like you may be touching a nerve and you don't even know it. Like, what if that woman is struggling with infertility? What if she's going through IVF and, she just hasn't shared that, because that is personal. So we have to really get out of that culture as well, that like people, as soon as you get married, when you're having a baby, or even if someone's been married for 5 years, when are you having a baby? Because I have clients too, like they might be married for 5 years and they've been trying the whole time, and either they haven't gotten pregnant or they found out that they can't. And Aunt Sally and cousin Jane is asking every Thanksgiving, when are you guys having kids? Or sometimes even with their husbands, maybe they have like a low sperm count, something like that, and you don't know what you're doing to someone when you ask them those questions. I mean, sometimes it may really just be they're not ready yet, but sometimes it could be something way more serious, and you're just, people are touching on this nerve all the time and not even realizing it. So everyone needs to just chill and let people,
please.
And like you said, even like literally at the wedding. So when you guys having kids, and it's
like, can I please be married for 2 seconds?
Can I officially change my last name? But I do have to thank you so much for sharing your story. I admire your strength so much. I've had the pleasure of meeting you in person, and then just following you on social media. I remember, reading your blog post when you announced that you're pregnant, and then, when I did see that, unfortunately, your son passed away, my heart sank, and I was just like, oh my gosh, because I wish I could take away that pain from everyone. It's like every time I hear that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just feel compelled to reach out, because I just always want people to know, like, there's someone out there, like, who understands, because I felt like no one understood what I was going through. And that might not have been true, but just in that moment, and again, because baby loss is such a taboo topic, no one opened up to me until after my loss. If I see someone going through that, I don't care who it is, I'm just like, hey, listen, I see you, and I understand, and it's gonna be okay, and if you ever need me, I'm here.
And I actually want to say thank you to you, because I know you shared your story, and I read your blog post about it, and I'm like, oh my God, like taking the words right out of my mouth, so that had definitely encouraged me. And then seeing that you had your rainbow baby, that was just so awesome, because I'm like, how do I get through these next 40 weeks and, try to stay mentally tough? And so, like, just seeing you write about it and then now turn it into something like that can really impact women everywhere. That is just so amazing.
Thank
So
you.
congrats to you and for you being obedient to God and what he
Oh
has
my God, I was not obedient for a long time. I was just like, I'm gonna work in fashion. I'm gonna work in fashion.
Yes, I mean, and sometimes you have to, bump your heads a few times, but you're doing it now, and you're creating a platform. So I think that is absolutely amazing. And I pray for, great things to happen.
And even this idea I've had for so long, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's like, God, I don't want to say, I mean, everything happens for a reason. I really hate that term.
Yeah.
But I do now, almost 6 years later, I do understand how I would not be able to do the work that I'm doing unless I had experienced it,
Right.
And so on a down day, that's what I tell myself, like, this wasn't in vain, because your calling is to help people who are going through this.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot help these people unless you know what they're feeling. So, I appreciate you, reading those posts and things like that, because sometimes I'm like, oh, this is so depressing.
Yeah.
I don't know why
But
I'm
it
sharing
really
it.
isn't. Yeah. I mean, for people that have experience, maybe for people that are looking from the outside in, it's like, oh my gosh,
But even they would read it, but I just, for me, because it would just sit on my heart, and I'm like, okay, I just have to get this out, because I feel like God is like on my shoulder, and he's like, are you gonna write this blog post? Are you gonna write this blog post?
Right.
Like, okay, fine, I'm doing it.
Okay.
So I do appreciate you, and just for helping me to walk in my purpose, being open to me, even reaching out to you, because you could have totally been like, okay, bye. So I really do appreciate that you came on and shared your story, and you're helping me to help other women, because someone is gonna, whether they watch the video or listen to the audio, you are going to help someone by sharing your story. And that's what I want, baby lost parents to realize, that if you stop, holding this in,
mm-hmm.
and you let it out, are not only are you going to heal yourself, but you're going to heal somebody else. Like, you never know who is watching you, whether it's your Facebook statuses like you post, or if you're a blogger, or anything. I just think it's really important to put faces to loss and not be ashamed anymore, because I do understand that emotion, but it doesn't help you while you're grieving, and it doesn't help anyone else if you keep this to yourself. So again, thank you for sharing. And I even told you this, like, I'm super proud of you for even sticking with your faith, because this is something that can totally shake your faith, and
it can
totally be like, listen, God, you what? Okay.
Right, like we're done.
I don't remember seeing this part in the Bible. So, just for you sticking with your faith, and just having the courage to keep going, because it is very easy to get stuck mentally, and to just, give up. So I'm proud of you guys for, giving us another chance, and, bringing another child into the world who is going to be so blessed by you guys. And I'm sure just with this pregnancy, you don't take anything for granted, like every day. Like, thank you, Jesus. I'm so happy. And it really does affect your parenting as well. I feel like I am insanely patient, because I know that my kids don't have to be here. You know what I mean? Wow. And I understand that that I do have one child that physically is not here. So it makes me appreciate my living children even more. And you're gonna experience that too. Like, even like when he poops and it gets everywhere, you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is the best poop ever. I'm so excited about this. You know what I mean? It's like everything they do is amazing, you know, and even when he tests your patience, you're just gonna be like, you know what? It sticks with you. It's you know, it's just like, you know what? Let me not lose it right now because, you know, things could be different.
Right.
So it makes you more patient, more, you know, I don't know. It's just a different perspective as a parent.
Right.
When you go through that. So, you know, I can't wait to see his little face, and he's so cute. You and your husband are such a cute couple.
Thank you.
I know you're gonna dress him all cute because you're a style blogger. So,
can't wait.
Yeah, you guys are gonna be such a blessing to that baby, and he's gonna be such a blessing to you guys.
Thank you so much.
And I can't thank you enough for sharing your story and just being so open and so vulnerable. I know it's not easy to talk about. And I mean, you didn't even cry. Like,
I'm used to talking it out now, and I actually started writing a book.
Wonderful.
So it will be out soon, I'm hopefully sometime this year. But so that has really helped me to release, you know. And
for the record, not that I wanted you to cry, but I'm just thinking back to myself a year out. I could not tell my story. Even now, sometimes I can't tell my story.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends, you know. But I'm so used to talking about it now. I'm like, I think I'm like the proud parent. Like, yes, I have an angel. Yes, you know. But you know, don't get me wrong. The tears still come. You know, they're just not as frequent as they used to be, but they're still there. You know, so.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who is listening. Thank you to everyone who is watching. And I'll be sure to link to Allie's blog if you guys want to check her out and send her a message. I'll link to all her social media and stuff like that. You guys can send her a word of encouragement or just tell her how cute she looks and how her outfits on Instagram. Just thanks again. I can't stop saying thank you.
No, thank you.
This is amazing. And I know for sure that there's somebody who is so touched by your testimony right now.
Oh, thank you.
So just thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening or watching Baby Loss Talk.